The great hall of Valoria Prime had never been so full. Thousands of Kelari warriors stood in perfect rows, their tall bodies covered in dark armor that had seen 100 conquests. Above them, floating screens showed images of their next target, a small blue planet called Earth. High Commander Vorn walked to the center of the hall. He was the largest Kelari in the room, standing nearly 3 meters tall. His forearms were covered in battle scars, and his red eyes glowed with hunger for war. Behind him stood Warlord Reth, his most trusted general, already imagining the glory that awaited them. "My warriors," Vorn's voice echoed through the hall. "We have conquered 200 star systems. We have crushed every species that dared to stand against us. Today, I present to you our next victory." The screen zoomed in on Earth. Blue oceans, green lands, white clouds. It looked peaceful. It looked weak. "The humans," Vorn continued, "achieved space travel only 200 years ago. Their ships are slow. Their weapons are primitive. Their bodies are soft and break easily. They live for less than 100 years. They are nothing." The warriors laughed. Some banged their weapons against the floor in excitement, but in the corner of the hall, an old Kelari did not laugh. Elder Talus had lived for over 800 years. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had read records that most Kelari considered lost or forgotten, and he knew something that the young warriors did not. Talus stepped forward. The hall grew quiet. Even Vorn showed respect to the elder, though he did not agree with him. "I must speak," Talus said. His voice was weak with age, but it carried through the silence. "I have read the ancient records. 3 civilizations before us tried to conquer that region of space. 3 civilizations that were far more powerful than us. None of them returned. None of them," Warlord Reth snorted. "Old stories, fairy tales to scare children. They are not stories," Talus replied. "They are warnings. The records speak of a species called the Sleepers. They appear weak. They seem primitive, but something lives inside them. Something that wakes when they are threatened. Every empire that attacked them was destroyed completely. Not defeated, destroyed. There were no survivors to tell what happened." Vorn smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "Elder Talus, I respect your wisdom. But look at the humans now. We have watched them for years. They fight among themselves. They waste their time on art and music and silly emotions. They have a small fleet that could not stop even one of our battle groups. What could they possibly do against 500 of our warships?" The warriors cheered again. Talus shook his head slowly. "You see their weakness and think it is real. I see their weakness and wonder if it is a mask. Commander, I have studied many species. The weak ones show their strength to scare away enemies. But the truly dangerous ones? They hide their strength. They wait. They let others think. They are harmless. And then, when the enemy comes too close, enough." Reth interrupted. "You speak of humans like they are some great mystery. They are meat. They are prey. I have killed species twice their size with my bare hands. These humans will kneel before us, or they will die. It is simple." The hall erupted in agreement. Warriors chanted for war, for blood, for conquest. Talus looked at Vorn one last time. "I am casting my vote against this invasion. I know I will be alone, but I want the record to show that I warned you. When our ships do not return, when our warriors vanish into the darkness of that system, remember that you were told." Vorn nodded respectfully but without concern. "Your vote is noted, Elder. But the Kelari do not turn away from conquest because of old legends. We are the strongest civilization in the galaxy. We have nothing to fear from these humans." The vote was held. 412 council members voted yes, Only Talus voted no. The invasion was approved. Over the next 3 months, the Kalari assembled the largest fleet they had ever created. 500 warships, each one capable of destroying a planet. 2 million warriors, eager for battle. Weapons that could crack moons and boil oceans. Vorn stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Conquest, and watched his fleet prepare to jump into hyperspace. He felt pride swelling in his chest. This would be his greatest victory. The humans would be slaves within a week. In his private chamber, Elder Talus sat alone. He held an ancient data crystal in his trembling hands. On it were recordings from the last civilization that had tried to invade Earth's region. The recordings were damaged, broken, filled with static. But some words could still be heard. "They are not what they seem," a terrified voice said through the static. "We thought we were hunting them, but they were hunting us. They knew we were coming before we even left our homeworld. They waited. They let us think we were winning. And then, the recording dissolved into screams." Talus closed his eyes. He had tried to warn them. He had shown them the evidence. But the Kalari were too proud, too confident, too blind. Far away, on the small blue planet called Earth, Admiral Tejo stood in a dark room filled with screens. He watched the Kalari fleet assembling. He had been watching them for months. He had been preparing for this moment for his entire life. Behind him, Captain Yuna spoke quietly. "They are really coming," Tejo nodded. "We knew they would. Someone always comes. That is why we built what we built. That is why we waited." "Should we warn them?" Yuna asked. "Give them a chance to turn back?" Tejo was silent for a long moment. "They have been warned. Every species that looks toward Earth finds the warnings we left behind. They choose to ignore them. They always choose to ignore them." He turned to face his officers. These were humans who had trained their entire lives for this war. They were not afraid. They were ready. "Let them come," Tejo said. In the darkness of space, 500 Kellery warships began their journey toward Earth. They expected an easy victory. They expected slaves and glory and songs of triumph. They had no idea what was waiting for them. Scout leader Kale was proud to lead the first Kalari ships into human space. His squadron of 12 fast attack vessels had been chosen to study Earth's defenses before the main fleet arrived. It was an honor that he had earned through years of loyal service. His ships passed the outer edge of the Sol system, moving carefully through a region of ice and rock that the humans called the Kuiper Belt. Kale watched his sensors closely, looking for any sign of human military presence. He found almost nothing. A few mining stations floated near the outer planets. Some transport ships moved slowly between moons. There were small defense platforms around the gas giants. But they looked old and poorly maintained. Kale counted only a handful of patrol vessels, and they seemed more like police ships than warships. "This is easier than I expected," said his second officer, Drell. Kale shook his head. "Perhaps they do not have much of one. Look at these readings. Their technology is exactly what our intelligence reported. Primitive. Slow. Weak." He opened a channel to his squadron. "All ships, continue forward. Document everything. High Commander Vorn will want a complete picture of what we are facing." For 2 hours, the Kalari scouts moved deeper into the system. They passed the large gas giant with the beautiful rings. They moved beyond the red planet with its thin atmosphere. Everything they saw confirmed what they already believed. The humans were not prepared for war. Kale began composing his report. "Human defenses are minimal. Recommend immediate, full invasion. Expected resistance. Low. Estimated time to complete conquest. Less than 1 standard week." He was about to send the message when his sensor officer made a strange sound. "Sir," the officer said, "I am detecting something unusual." "What is it?" I am not sure. For a moment, I thought I saw movement in the asteroid field ahead. But now, There is nothing. Kale looked at his own screen. Empty space. Floating rocks. Nothing dangerous. You are nervous, Kale said. There is nothing to fear from these humans. Continue scanning. He never finished his sentence. The first explosion came from behind. Kale spun around to see one of his ships breaking apart. Fire blooming in the vacuum of space. Before he could speak, 2 more ships exploded. Then, another. Then another. Report! Kale screamed. Where is the attack coming from? His officers shouted over each other. The sensors showed nothing. No enemy ships. No missile trails. No weapons fire. But his squadron was dying. Drell pointed at the screen. There! I saw something move. Kale looked. An asteroid that had been drifting peacefully suddenly opened like a flower. Inside was a human weapon platform, sleek and dark, already firing. The shots moved so fast that Kale's eyes could not follow them. All around the squadron, space came alive. Asteroids that were not asteroids revealed hidden weapons. Ships that looked like mining vessels dropped their disguises and showed rows of missile tubes. Even the debris floating nearby turned out to be automated attack drones. We are surrounded, Drell whispered. They were waiting for us. They knew exactly where we would be. Kale tried to fight. He ordered his remaining ships to return fire. But their weapons seemed to pass through the human ships without hitting anything. Meanwhile, the human attacks never missed. In less than 60 seconds, 10 of his 12 ships were destroyed. Kale watched his squadron die and felt something he had never felt before. Terror. This was not a battle. This was an execution. Full retreat, he ordered. Get us out of here. His ship turned and ran. One other vessel managed to escape with him. The rest were gone, destroyed so quickly that they never had time to send a final message. As Kale fled toward the edge of the system, he saw something that stopped his heart. A human ship appeared directly in front of him, blocking his path. It was smaller than his vessel, barely half the size. A single human woman stood visible on its bridge, watching him through the viewport. She did not attack. She simply watched him run, a slight smile on her face. Captain Yuna let the 2 Kellery ships escape. Admiral Tejo had ordered it. He wanted the survivors to deliver a message. They will tell the others what happened here, Tejo said from his command center on Earth. They will describe how easily we destroyed them. And the Kellery will do exactly what we expect them to do. Lieutenant Minho stood nearby, reviewing the battle data. We could have taken all 12 without losses. Why let any escape? Because scared survivors spread fear, Tejo replied. But they will also make the Kellery angry. Proud warriors do not run from a challenge. They will come with their full fleet, determined to prove they are not afraid. And that is what we want? Tejo nodded slowly. We have been hiding our true strength for 200 years. Every species that watches us thinks we are weak. That is by design. But hiding forever is not possible. Sooner or later, someone comes to test us. When they do, we must not just win. We must win so completely that no one else will dare to try. Deep in space, Kale's damaged ship limped toward the Kellery fleet. He found High Commander Vorn waiting impatiently for his report. Well, Vorn demanded, what did you find? Kale's hands were shaking. His voice was barely a whisper. They knew we were coming. Commander. They were waiting for us. Hidden weapons everywhere. Technology we have never seen. They destroyed 10 ships in less than a minute. Our weapons did nothing to them. Nothing. Warlord Reth laughed. You lost 10 ships to humans? You are a coward and a fool. I will lead the next attack myself. No. Kale grabbed Reth's arm, something that could have cost him his life. You do not understand. They let us escape. They wanted us to survive. They wanted us to survive. They wanted us to serve. They wanted us to come back and tell you what happened. This is a trap. The entire system is a trap. Vorn studied Kale with cold eyes. You are saying that humans, with their primitive technology, destroyed 80% of your squadron without losing a single ship? Yes, Commander. And you believe we should retreat? That 500 Kalari warships should run from these creatures? Kale knew what the right answer was. He knew what Vorn wanted to hear. But he had seen what the humans could do, and he could not lie. Yes, he said. We should retreat. We should go home, and never return to this region of space. The silence in the command center was heavy. Then Vorn began to laugh. Other officers joined him. Soon, the entire room was filled with mocking laughter. 2 ships escaped, Vorn said. 2 ships means the humans are not invincible. They can be beaten. They can be killed. You were simply incompetent. He turned to address his fleet commanders. The humans have shown their hand. They have tricks and traps, nothing more. We will advance with our full strength. We will crush whatever resistance they offer, and we will make them pay for every Kalari life they took today. The commanders cheered. Kyle stood alone, ignored, knowing that he had witnessed something terrible, and that no one would believe him until it was too late. On Earth, Admiral Tejo received word that the Kalari fleet was advancing. They are coming, Una reported. All 500 ships. Tejo smiled, but there was no joy in it. Only grim determination. Wake up the defense grid, he ordered. All of it. It is time to show the galaxy what humanity has been building in the shadows. High Commander Vorn stood on the bridge of the Eternal Conquest and looked at the blue planet growing larger on his screen. Earth. The homeworld of humanity. Soon, it would belong to the Kalari Dominion. His fleet of 500 warships spread across space like a dark cloud. Each ship was massive, armed with weapons that had destroyed entire civilizations. 2 million Kalari warriors waited inside, ready to descend upon the planet and claim it for their empire. Vorn opened a communication channel to Earth. Humans of the Sol system. I am High Commander, Vorn of the Kalari Dominion. You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. All your leaders will present themselves to me as prisoners. Your military will lay down its weapons. Your people will accept their new role as servants of the Dominion. If you refuse, we will burn your world to ash. There will be no second warning. He waited for a response. None came. Warlord Wreath laughed beside him. They are too afraid to even speak. This will be our easiest conquest yet. Vorn was not so sure. The silence bothered him. Conquered species usually begged, or threatened, or tried to negotiate. The humans did nothing. They simply waited. Move the fleet forward, Vorn ordered. Standard invasion formation. All weapons, ready. The Kalari Armada advanced toward Earth. They passed the orbit of the 4th planet, a dusty red world that human maps called Mars. Vorn barely glanced at it. His intelligence reports said it was a terraforming project, a future colony for humanity. Nothing important. Then Mars opened its eyes. Vorn watched in disbelief as the entire surface of the planet seemed to shift. Massive panels slid aside, revealing thousands of weapon platforms hidden beneath the dust. Energy readings spiked so high that his sensors could not measure them. What is this? Vorn breathed. Before anyone could answer, Mars fired. Beams of light brighter than stars shot toward the Kalari fleet. Each beam was perfectly aimed. Ships that had survived 100 battles exploded instantly. Shields that had never been broken before shattered like glass. In the first 30 seconds, Vorn lost 50 ships. Return fire, he screamed. Destroy that planet. His fleet turned their weapons toward Mars and fired everything they had. But the humans had thought of this too. Defense screens flickered around the red planet, absorbing the Kalari attacks like water soaking into sand. Not a single shot got through. Commander, a sensor officer shouted. More contacts appearing. They are coming from everywhere. Vorn looked at his tactical display and felt his blood turn cold. The moons of the gas giants were launching ships, hundreds of them, pouring out from hidden bases. The rings of the sixth planet broke apart, and Vorn realized they had been hiding an entire fleet, twice the size of his own. Asteroids that his scouts had marked as harmless were moving with purpose, each one a weapons platform or a carrier full of fighter craft. The entire system had been turned into a fortress. The humans had not been unprepared. They had been waiting. "We need to retreat," Kale said from his position at the back of the bridge. "Commander, please. This is exactly what I warned you about." Vorn ignored him. He would not run. He could not run. "All ships, advance," he commanded. "Break through their lines. Get to Earth. Once we control the planet, they will have to stop fighting." The Kalari fleet pushed forward with desperate courage. They fought through the Mars bombardment, losing ships every second. They engaged the human fleet and found themselves facing weapons they had never imagined. Human ships moved in ways that seemed impossible, appearing and disappearing, striking from angles that should not exist. But the Kalari were warriors. They did not give up. Warlord Reth led a group of assault ships toward a human carrier. He was determined to prove that the Kalari could match these humans in battle. His ships locked onto the carrier and fired boarding tubes, smashing through its hull. Sergeant Wujin was waiting inside. The first Kalari warriors came through the breach, expecting terrified humans. Instead, they found soldiers in heavy armor, moving with perfect coordination, firing weapons that punched through Kalari shields like paper. Reth himself entered the carrier with his personal guard. He was a giant among Kalari, a warrior who had killed thousands with his bare hands. He saw a human soldier standing in his path, a man half his size, and laughed. "You think you can stop me, little creature?" Wujin did not answer with words. He moved. Reth had never seen anything move so fast. The human was a blur, dodging his strikes, getting inside his guard, hitting him in places that sent waves of pain through his body. Reth swung all four of his arms at once, but Wujin was not there anymore. He was behind him, then beside him, then somehow in front of him again. The battle lasted less than 2 minutes. At the end, Reth lay on the floor, broken and bleeding, staring up at the human who had defeated him. "How?" Reth gasped. "You are so small, so weak." Wujin knelt beside him. "You see a small body and think it means weakness. But my ancestors survived ice ages, predators, diseases, and each other. We evolved to chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We heal from wounds that would kill your kind. We feel pain and keep fighting. We see death coming and run toward it." He stood up. "You came here thinking you were the predators. You were wrong." Across the carrier, Wujin's squad of 30 soldiers finished securing the ship. The Kalari crew of 400 had been completely overwhelmed, not because the humans were stronger individually, but because they fought without fear, without hesitation, with a unity of purpose that the Kalari could not match. Back on the Eternal Conquest, Vorn received reports that made no sense. Human soldiers were capturing his ships. His warriors, trained from birth for combat, were being defeated by creatures that lived for less than a century. The weapons his scientists called primitive were tearing through his fleet. "Commander," an officer said quietly, "we have lost 200 ships." Vorn stared at the number. 43 against 200. On Earth, Admiral Tejo watched the battle unfold. Beside him, Dr. Hannah analyzed the captured Kalari technology. "Their shields have a weakness in the lower frequencies," she reported. "I am already sending modifications to the fleet. Our weapons will be even more effective now." Tejo nodded. "How long did it take you to find that weakness?" 6 hours after we captured the first ship. 6 hours. The Kalari had been using that shield technology for centuries. Humans had cracked it in 6 hours. "They will try to reach Earth directly," Captain Yuna said. "They are getting desperate." "Let them come," Tejo replied. "Show them what happens when you threaten our home." The Kellery fleet, bloodied but not broken, made its final push toward Earth. They had come to conquer. Now, they were just trying to survive. They had no idea that the worst was still to come. 3 weeks had passed since the Kellery fleet entered the Sol system. 3 weeks of constant fighting. 3 weeks of watching his empire's greatest armada being torn apart piece by piece. High Commander Vorn had not slept in days. His eyes were hollow. His movements slow. The confidence that had filled him when the invasion began was gone, replaced by something he had never felt before. Doubt. His fleet had lost 300 ships. The humans had lost fewer than 50. Every tactic the Kellery tried, the humans countered. Every weapon they used, the humans adapted to. It was as if they were fighting an enemy that could see the future, that knew exactly what the Kellery would do before they did it. Warlord Reth was dead. His body had been returned to the Kellery fleet in a small capsule, along with a message from Sergeant Wujin. He died with courage. That is more than most of your commanders will be able to say. The message had spread through the Kellery fleet like poison. Warriors who had never known fear began to hesitate. Officers who had always followed orders without question started to wonder if those orders would lead to their deaths. And the humans kept coming. Captain Yuna led a strike force of 20 ships against Vorn's flagship. Her vessel, the Horizon, moved through the Kellery formation like a blade through water. She had lost her right arm in the battle for Mars, torn off when a plasma blast breached her bridge. The medics had wanted to evacuate her. She had refused. "I can fight with one arm," she had told Admiral Tejo. "I can command with half a brain. I will rest when the enemy is gone." Now she was hunting the eternal conquest. Her ships surrounded Vorn's flagship, cutting off its escort, forcing it to face them alone. Kellery weapons fired at her. But Yuna had learned their patterns. She knew when they would shoot, where they would aim, how long it took for their weapons to recharge. She danced between their attacks, like she was reading their minds. "Target their engine section," she ordered. "Disable, do not destroy. Admiral Tejo wants their commander alive if possible." Her weapons specialists obeyed. Precise shots struck the Eternal Conquest, crippling its engines, leaving it drifting in space. Vorn's flagship, the pride of the Kellery Dominion, was now helpless. Yuna opened a communication channel. "High Commander Vorn, your ship is disabled. Your fleet is being destroyed. You can surrender now and save the lives of your remaining warriors. Or you can die here, alone, accomplishing nothing. The choice is yours." Vorn stared at the screen showing Yuna's face. She was young by human standards, probably not even 40 years old. A child compared to him. And yet, she had beaten him completely. "How?" he asked, the same question that Reth had asked before he died. "How are you doing this? Your technology was supposed to be primitive. Your species was supposed to be weak. Our intelligence said you had no real military, no weapons capable of threatening us. Everything we knew about you was wrong." Yuna smiled. "Not wrong, just outdated. 200 years ago, we discovered that we were not alone in the universe. We found ruins of civilizations that had been destroyed by conquerors like you. We found warnings left behind by species that had been wiped out. And we understood something important." She leaned forward. "The galaxy is not a peaceful place. Empires rise and fall. The strong prey on the weak. If we wanted to survive, we had two choices: become conquerors ourselves, or become so dangerous that no one would dare to attack us. You chose the second option," Vorn said quietly. "We chose to be ready. We built weapons in secret. We trained soldiers in hidden facilities. We made our public fleet look weak on purpose, so that anyone watching would underestimate us. And we waited. We knew that someday, someone would come. We just did not know when." On the bridge of the Horizon, Lieutenant Minho reported that the remaining Kellery fleet was fragmenting. Some ships were trying to retreat. Others were surrendering. A few were still fighting, but they were surrounded and outnumbered. "The battle is nearly over," Minho said. Yuna nodded, but did not celebrate. "The battle, yes. But the war is just beginning. We cannot let any of them escape to bring reinforcements. And we need to send a message to the rest of the galaxy." Across the Sol system, the human fleet executed its final moves. Kelari ships that tried to flee were intercepted by vessels that appeared from nowhere, using technology that bent space itself. Ships that surrendered were boarded by human soldiers who treated their prisoners with strange respect, giving them medical care, food, and water. The Kelari did not understand this. They had conquered hundreds of species and never shown mercy. Why were the humans being kind to defeated enemies? Dr. Hana provided the answer when she addressed a group of captured Kelari officers. "We are not like you," she told them. "We do not enjoy killing. We do not want slaves or subjects. We fight because we have to, not because we want to. And when the fighting is over, we prefer to make friends rather than enemies." One officer laughed bitterly. "Friends? You have destroyed our fleet. You have killed our warlord. You have humiliated our dominion. How can we ever be friends?" Hana looked at him with genuine sympathy. "Because tomorrow, you will need us. Your dominion has made many enemies. Species you conquered, worlds you destroyed, people who have been waiting for a chance to strike back. When they see what happened here, they will rise against you. And when they do, you will have a choice. Face them alone, or ask for help." She smiled. "We will be here when you decide." The Battle of Sol ended on the 23rd day. Of the 500 Kelari warships that had entered the system, only 127 survived. High Commander Vorn was taken prisoner, along with 30,000 Kelari warriors. Admiral Tejo stood on the observation deck of Earth's orbital command station, watching the last Kelari ships being escorted out of the system. Beside him stood his senior officers, exhausted but victorious. "We lost good people," Tejo said quietly. "Every human who died in this battle was someone's child, someone's parent, someone's friend. We will remember them." "What happens now?" Yuna asked. Her arm had been replaced with a prosthetic, a mechanical limb more capable than the one she had lost. She flexed its fingers, still getting used to the feeling. "Now we change the galaxy," Tejo replied. "For 200 years, we hid. We let the universe think we were weak. That time is over. The Kelari will tell everyone what happened here. Species that were afraid will find courage. Empires that thought they were untouchable will learn that they are not." He turned to face his officers. "We did not fight this war to conquer. We fought it to survive. But surviving is not enough. There are species out there, suffering under tyrants like the Kelari. If we have the power to help them, do we not have the duty to try?" No one answered. They did not need to. They all knew what came next. Humanity was done hiding. It was time to step into the light. The news spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. The Kelari Dominion, the most feared empire in known space, had been defeated. Not by another great power, not by a coalition of civilizations, by a single species from a small blue planet that most of the galaxy had never heard of: the humans. On Valoria Prime, the capital of the Kelari Dominion, chaos reigned. High Commander Vorn had been executed for his failure, his body displayed as a warning to others. But the warning came too late. The damage was already done. Species that had been enslaved by the Kelari for generations began to rise up. Rebellions broke out on 100 worlds. Kelari garrisons that had seemed unbeatable suddenly found themselves facing enemies who were no longer afraid. Elder Talus watched the collapse from his chambers. He had warned them. He had begged them not to attack Earth. Now everything he had feared was coming true. A messenger arrived with terrible news. The outer colonies were falling. The slave species were organizing. And worst of all, the humans were helping them. Captain Yuna led the first expeditionary fleet out of the Sol system 6 months after the war ended. Her mission was not conquest. It was liberation. The first world she visited was Kreen, a planet that the Kalari had conquered a century ago. The Kreen were small creatures, barely half the height of humans, with gentle natures and no natural weapons. They had been perfect slaves. When Yuna's fleet arrived, the Kalari garrison prepared to fight. They expected the humans to be like every other conqueror, brutal, greedy, demanding surrender. Instead, Yuna broadcasted a simple message. People of Kreen, we are not here to rule you. We are not here to take from you. We are here to offer you a choice. If you want to be free, we will help you. If you want to join us as allies, we will welcome you. If you want us to leave, we will go. The decision is yours. The Kreen had never been given a choice before. They did not know how to respond. The answer came 3 days later, when the Kreen rose against their Kalari masters. They were not warriors. They had no training, no weapons, no experience in combat. But they had hope, and hope was enough to make them brave. Sergeant Wujin led the ground forces that supported them. His soldiers fought beside the Kreen, teaching them tactics, sharing their weapons, treating them as equals rather than subjects. The Kalari garrison fell within a week. When it was over, the Kreen elder approached Wujin with tears in his large eyes. "Why?" he asked. "Why did you help us? What do you want from us?" Wujin knelt down to look the elder in the face. "We want you to be free. That is all." The Kreen became humanity's first allies. They were not the last. Dr. Hana established the Galactic Research Cooperative on a space station between Earth and Kreen. Scientists from a dozen species worked together, sharing knowledge that had been hoarded for centuries. Medical advances that the Kalari had kept secret were now available to everyone. Diseases that had killed millions were cured within months. The message spread: the humans do not take, they give. 1 year after the war, Admiral Tejo received an unexpected visitor. A Kalari shuttle approached Earth, broadcasting a signal of peace. On board was Elder Talus, the only council member who had voted against the invasion. Tejo met him in the orbital command station, the same place where he had watched the Kalari fleet die. The old alien moved slowly, his body bent with age and grief. "I come to offer surrender," Talus said. "Not the surrender of weapons or territory. The surrender of pride. I come to admit that we were wrong, that everything we believed about strength and power was a lie." Tejo studied him carefully. "Your people killed many of mine. They came to enslave us, to destroy everything we built. Why should I accept any surrender from you? Avanter. And Avanter. And Avanter. 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 I see. And Avanter. Avanter. And Avanter. I see. Because you are not like us," Talus replied. "I have watched what you have done since the war. You could have destroyed us completely. You could have conquered every Kalari world and made us your slaves. Instead, you helped the species we oppressed. You shared your knowledge. You asked for nothing in return." He lowered his head. "I have lived for 800 years. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have never seen anyone act as you have. I do not understand it, but I respect it." Tejo was silent for a long moment. Then he reached out and lifted the old Kalari's chin, forcing him to meet his eyes. "We are not better than you," Tejo said. "We have made mistakes. We have done terrible things to each other throughout our history. Wars, genocides, cruelties that still shame us. The difference is that we learned from our mistakes. We decided to be better." He released Talus and stepped back. "The Kalari can learn too. Your people are not evil. They were just taught to believe that power is everything. But power without wisdom leads to destruction. Power without mercy creates only enemies. You have seen this now. What do you want from us? Talus asked. Nothing. Teho replied. We want neighbors, not subjects. We want allies, not slaves. If the Kalari want to change, we will help them. If they want to continue as they were, they will face the consequences of their choices. That is not a threat. It is simply the truth. Talus returned to Valoria Prime with Teho's words. The Kalari Dominion did not collapse completely, but it changed. The hardliners who wanted revenge were slowly replaced by those who understood that the old ways had failed. Trade agreements replaced war plans. Cultural exchanges began between Kalari and human worlds. It was not perfect. Old hatreds did not disappear overnight. There were those on both sides who wanted conflict, who could not forgive, who believed that peace was weakness, but they were fewer with each passing year. 5 years after the war, Captain Yuna returned to Earth. Her fleet had visited over 200 worlds, helped free a dozen enslaved species, and established humanity's reputation across the galaxy. She was tired, older, ready to rest. Admiral Teho met her at the spaceport. He was older too, his hair gray now, his steps slower, but his eyes still held the same determination that had guided humanity through its greatest challenge. You did well, he told her. Better than I could have imagined. Yuna smiled. I just did what you taught me. Fight when you must. Help when you can. Never forget who you are. They walked together through the streets of the city, watching humans go about their daily lives. Children played in parks. Couples walked hand in hand. Artists painted murals on building walls. Life continued, as it always did. Despite the wars and the battles and the fears, do you think they understand? Yuna asked. The people here, living their normal lives, do they know what we did for them? What we are still doing? Teho shook his head. Most of them do not. And that is fine. We do not fight for recognition. We fight so that they can have these normal lives, so that children can play without fear, so that artists can create beauty instead of weapons. He stopped and looked up at the sky, where stars were beginning to appear as the sun set. The galaxy knows about us now, he said. They know that Earth is protected. They know that anyone who asks for our help will receive it. And they know that anyone who threatens the innocent will face us. He turned to Yuna. The ancient warnings about humanity have been updated. Species across the galaxy have added new words to their records about us. What do they say? Teho smiled. They say, do not wake the humans in anger, but if you need them, they will come. Yuna looked at the stars with him. Somewhere out there, new challenges waited. New species needed help. New tyrants needed to be stopped. The work was never finished. But for now, on this small blue planet, there was peace, and that was enough.